Okay, welcome to Buugeng Basics 5. I'm looking at, this time, the combination of the three basic movements. Wrist movement number 1, wrist movement number 2, finger motion. Expanding away from that specific place and looking at where I can create patterns with those three basic motions while my hand moves through the space around me. And that's why I'm focusing on the significance of hand paths to your Buugeng movement. So I'm just going to look at a very specific hand path and then give you some ideas of how to expand from that simple hand path to many, many others. So let's just look at my hand path going from the top of my body to the bottom of my body in a straight line. Now, in order for me to create this move, the easiest way to do it with two Buugeng in your hand is to, let's say I had them both in this position, right? I'm going to do finger motion with both of them. And as I do the finger motion, I'm going to move down to here. Now at this point, I've done 2 full rotations of the blade in between my 2 hands. So here we go. 1, 2. At this point, I'm going to change from finger motion to wrist movement number 2. Let's say I want to get back up to the starting position. Both of my hands are going to go into a finger motion. When we get to here, finger motion down once, twice as the blades pass through this area. At this point, change to wrist movement number 2. Alright, so now with 2 hands, 2 Buugeng. Notice that my hands are just far enough apart so that the blades can pass through that area I was talking about. So, from the beginning, we're going to start about here. We're going to do 2 passes of the blades through the area I was talking about. Right here. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2. Then, expanding out, we go into finger motion. When we get here, we're just about far enough apart for the blades to go through, so then I go down again. Finger motion 1, 2, wrist movement number 2. So here's some variations of that movement. Think about this area in between my hands as a line that I can tilt. I could tilt it here, and the Buugeng would have to pass through that line between my hands, but at this angle. I'm going to change the line again to here. That's the place we started, but now I'm going to tilt it the other way. Just doing finger motion. See how my hand paths, yet again, create placement of Buugeng motions. Now, let's say I combine that tilting of the line with a full extension of my arms in finger motion. Let's start with ending up here. This is our end point. But we're starting down here in finger motion. We're going to go up, but we know at some point we have to make a line diagonally there. Now I'm going to do 2 passes through that line. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2, all the way up again. Now I'm passing to the other side, creating a diagonal line the other way. I'm going to pass twice through. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2, and then back to the original one. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2. Here's a variation of that diagonal motion I just showed you. Instead, we're going to go into another hand path after we finish the diagonal motion from here. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2. We're going to stay on the same side. Come up to here. Go a little higher up. At this point, you're going to slide with this hand, wrist movement number 2, then quickly back into finger motion. And look where I am. I've started on the other side. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2, finger motion. Slide with this hand, then back into finger motion. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2, finger motion. Slide, finger motion. 1, 2, wrist movement number 2, finger motion. Slide, 1, 2, wrist movement number 2. So a difficulty that arises when spinning the Buugeng in that motion is your timing, really making sure the blades pass each other in unison, as well as your endurance in your fingers. And all of that just takes extra conditioning, especially of this motion, really keeping the Buugeng in equidistant from each other and changing the line by which they're passing through. Changing that all the time and not stopping your finger motion. So another difficulty too was, for me, getting used to this finger motion where they're spinning in opposite directions and then having them ready to split apart at this point into this motion. So with that, really focus on the outer tips. At least this is what I do. I focus on the outer tips of the Buugeng and I watch far out there for them at this point to make sure that they're in line with that motion that I'm going to end up doing.